winds as well. Now, this is something we haven't seen for quite some time. An area of low pressure. This weather chart would not look out of place in the autumn. Tightly squeezed isobars, some pretty strong, possibly destructive winds, some outbreaks of heavy rain as well. So, as we head towards the weekend, there is some uncertainty about the timing on this, but it looks like there will be a spell of unusually wet and windy weather, and it is going to feel significantly cooler. So, a big change is on the way.
One of the stars of England cricket, Ben Stokes, appears in court charged with affray after a fight outside a nightclub last year. The jury was told that the 27-year-old all-rounder mocked two gay men before losing control during a sustained episode of significant violence. Two other men are appearing alongside him in court. All three deny the charges. Also tonight, thousands of people, including tourists, tried to leave the Indonesian island of Lombok after the second earthquake in a week leaves almost 100 people dead. Drug poisoning claims the lives of more than 3,500 people in a year in England and Wales, an all-time high. Fighting the flames as forecasters say temperatures here are finally set to cool. We'll be looking at what's behind this year's extreme weather, and why these incredible, eerie, wind-powered sculptures have caught the attention of NASA's space scientists.
And coming up on BBC News, dreams come true for an inspirational Georgia Hall as she becomes only the third British winner of the Women's Open Championship.
Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. The England cricketer Ben Stokes has appeared in court charged with affray after a fight in Bristol last September. The jury was told that the 27-year-old mocked two gay men outside a nightclub and then lost control during what was called a sustained episode of significant violence. Two other men, Ryan Alley and Ryan Hale, are also charged with affray. All three deny the charges. Our sports editor Dan Roan is at the court now. Dan. Time is almost 6:15, our top story this evening. England cricket star Ben Stokes appears in court charged with affray after a fight outside a nightclub last year. And still to come,
meet the Strand Beast, wind-blown artworks that are helping to solve, would you believe, the problem of Venus.
Coming up in Sports Day on BBC News, Britain's Ethan Hayter wins a dramatic bronze alongside Ollie Wood in the Madison to claim his third medal of the European Championships in Glasgow.
forecasters are predicting temperatures across the UK will fall back down to average for this time of year by the end of the week. But across many other parts of the world, heat waves are continuing. In Portugal and parts of the United States, hundreds of firefighters are still trying to control major wildfires. In Japan and Australia, the authorities are also trying to cope with severe weather conditions. Our science editor David Shookman reports.
Some uncertainty about the timing, but it looks like at some stage early in the weekend we will see a spell of heavy rain, strong winds as well. So for a time, not all the time, there's going to be some wind and rain over the weekend and it will feel much, much cooler. Big changes on the way. Sophie.
Ben, thank you. A reminder now of our main story this evening. One of the stars of England cricket, Ben Stokes, appears in court charged with affray after a fight outside a nightclub last year. That's all from the BBC News at 6. It's goodbye from me on BBC One. We now join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
My parents really wanted me to be a doctor because they're huge fans of conforming to racial stereotypes.
We got £1 million worth of cars and we're still living at home. I was handed into Mother Teresa's orphanage in Calcutta when I was 9 weeks old. I have to try to find her.
Your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and your great-great-grandfather.
Stretching the idea of Britishness so it's big enough to embrace all of us.
There's 1,000 flavours there.
So far-fetched, so over the top, but pure entertainment. As children of immigrants, I feel that we're so much more than our history.
The Big British Asian Summer. Across the BBC.
Hello, good evening. This is BBC News with me, Jullian Worricker. Time for the latest headlines now. At least 98 people have been killed and thousands of residents and tourists evacuated after the second earthquake on the Indonesian island of Lombok in a week.
Thankfully, we were outside. We were going to watch a movie, but everything just went blank and it was terrible.
A court has heard that the England cricketer Ben Stokes lost control during a fight outside a nightclub in Bristol last year. He and 2 other men deny a charge of affray. A man's appeared before magistrates charged with the murder of the midwife Samantha Eastwood. Her body was found in a rural area of Staffordshire on Saturday. The Trump administration is reimposing a series of sanctions on Iran, starting with metals trading, industrial-related software and the motor industry. In a moment, it'll be time for Sports Day, but first, a look at what else is coming up this evening here on BBC News. We'll bring you the latest from the earthquake-hit Indonesian island of Lombok. We'll be asking what the US reimposing sanctions on Iran will mean in the Middle East and indeed for the wider world. And Sebastian Payne from the Financial Times will be joining the former Conservative Minister Nicola Blackwood to look at tomorrow's front pages. That's in the paper review at 10:40 and then again at 11:30. That's all ahead here on BBC News, but now it's time for Sports Day.
Hello and welcome to Sports Day. I'm Hugh Wizencroft. Our main headlines this evening.